Hi, welcome to Gramophone Music Studio YouTube channel. This video is the ABRSM Grade 8 Oral Test Full Guide, Sample Q&A and Answering Tips. Before we begin, check out our previous videos on the ABRSM Grade 7 Oral Test and all you need to know about ABRSM Exam Part 1. Link will be in the description box. Let's understand what is oral test. It is a listening test that involves singing, listening to cadences, and answering questions. The oral test is only in practical exam, which is face-to-face exam. It is 18 marks out of total 150 marks. The entire test will be played on the piano regardless of candidate's instrument for the exam. Here is an overview of the grade 6 to 8 oral test. It is highly recommended to go through the previous grade before attempting the grade 8 test. A test A would be a melodic repetition from a 3-part melody, cadences, and chords. Then test B, sight singing. Test C, modulations, and test D, musical features. Test 8A is divided into 3 parts, melodic repetition, cadences, and chords. For melodic repetition, here is the instruction. I would like you to repeat the lower part of a 3-part phrase. Would you prefer to sing it or play it? I'll play it twice. Here is the key chord and your starting note. Then examiner count in 2 bars, then play the phrase once. Here it is again. The examiner repeat the phrase without counting in. The candidate should memorize the lowest part of the melody and repeat it after hearing twice, ensuring accuracy in pitch and rhythm. You can choose to sing or play the melody. If you choose to play, the examiner will name the key chord and starting note. For transposing instrument, it will be accommodated too. The melody would be a 3-part phrase. The lowest part will be sounding in the bass register. The key can be in major or minor key up to 3 sharps or flats. The length is no more than 4 bars long. The meter can be in 2, 3, or 4 time, including 6/8 time. It will begin from a note from the tonic triad, and there will be no chromatic note, only the raised 6 and 7 in minor key. These are the acceptable response: by singing, humming, or whistling, or by playing. For singing, humming, or whistling, ensure that the pitch and rhythm is accurate. You're allowed to transpose octave higher or lower to match the vocal range. As for playing, the examiner will name the key and the starting note. Transposing instruments will be accommodated as well. The next part would be cadences. Here is the instruction. Now, tell me what the cadence is at the end of this next phrase. I'll play it twice. Here is the key chord. Examiner played the continuing phrase once. Here it is again. Examiner repeat the phrase. What is the cadence? Candidates should identify the cadence at the end of phrase, whether it's perfect, imperfect, interrupted, or plagal cadence. The melody would be in the same key as the test 8A, but a continuation of the phrase. The answers could be perfect cadence, imperfect cadence, interrupted cadence, or plagal cadence. And for third part of the question, chords. The instruction would be, now tell me what the last 3 chords are. First, I'll give you the key chord, then I'll play through the 3 chords you need to name. Here is the key chord, examiner name and played. And the 3 chords, play the chords slowly in sequence. Now I'll stop on each chord for you to name it. Here is the key chord again. First this chord, now this one, and the last. A candidate should identify the 3 chords that forms the cadential progression. The chords that will be tested are limited to the tonic, root position, first or second inversions, supertonic, root position or first inversion, subdominant, root position only, dominant, root position, first and second inversions, dominant 7, root position only, and submedian, root position only. There will be no median and leading note chord. These are the difference from the grade 7 test. Firstly, the melodic repetition will be a 3-part phrase instead of 2-part phrase. For cadence, there is an addition of plagal cadence. For chords, it now includes inversions, and the candidates have to name the last 3 chords instead of last 2 chords that make up the cadence. It is highly recommended to go through the grade 7 test before attempting grade 8. You can find the full guide to ABRSM grade 7 oral test from the link in the description box. This is an example of test 8A. I'd like you to repeat the lowest part of a 3-part phrase. Would you prefer to sing it or play it? I'll play it twice. Here is the key chord, and your starting note. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here it is again. Or by singing. La 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 la. Now, tell me what cadence is at the end of this next phrase. I'll play it twice. Here is the key chord. Here it is again. What is the cadence? It is play-go cadence. Now, tell me what the last three chords are. First, I'll give you the key chord, then I'll play through the three chords in its name. Here's the key chord D major. And the three chords. Now, I'll stop on each chord for you to name it. Here's the key chord again. First, this chord, 1B. Now this one, 4A, and the last, 1A. Thank you. Here are some teaching hints for the melodic repetition. Follow the lowest line, which will be in the bass register. Help the students by playing the lowest line slightly louder. Go through the previous grades to differentiate the voices in 2 parts first, then move on to 3 parts. When teaching a Baroque piece, use it as an example to separate the voices and help students be aware of the lowest voice, which is in the bass. As for the answering tips, follow and pay attention to the lower line, which will be the one in the lowest pitch. Hum along or use hand gestures to help memorizing the melody. Try out different exercises in 3 parts. Find music in 3 parts, analyze and play through the 3 voices separately to help distinguish the voices. Practice singing in choir, which has 3 parts, or get friends to practice 3-part music together. This will be an example of the melody. It is similar to Baroque music, which will be contrapuntal with multiple voices. No sheet music is shown in the test. And next, teaching hints for cadences. Go through the previous grades to identify the cadences. Play various examples in major and minor key to familiarize the students with the effect of different cadences. Using the exam pieces as an example, identify the cadences and their effects. These are the answering tips for cadences. Listen to the effect of the cadence. For perfect cadence, it sounds strong and final like a full stop. The most common chords in grade 8 would be 5-1 or 5-7-1. Imperfect cadence sounds incomplete like a comma. And the possible combinations are 1-5, 1C5, 2-5, 2B5, and 4-5. Interrupted cadence sounds unexpected like a surprise. The most common chord combination will be 5-6 or 5-7-6. And lastly, play-go cadence, which sounds final but gentle, like Amen in a hymn. The most common chords will be 4-1. This cadence is new in grade 8. Moving on to the teaching hints for chords. The last 2 chords must be the ones forming the cadence. For example, perfect cadence is 5-1. They must be the last 2 chords. To tell the inversions, train the students to listen to the bass note. Familiarize students with the common chords progressions such as 1C5-1, 2-5-1, and according to the types of chords like major or minor in the key, narrow down the options as learned in grade 6 to 8 theory. And here are some answering tips for chords. These are the acceptable answer for chords in the exam. Firstly, the chord number like 5A, 1A, or technical name, the dominant chord in root position, tonic root position, or chord name, G major root position, C major root position. These are the diatonic chords in the major key. There is no chord 3 and chord 7 in grade 8 test. According to the types like major or minor chords, narrow down the options. For example, you hear a minor chord leading to a perfect cadence. It is most likely chord 2, D minor. And think about the chord 2 of the respective key. For example, C major. Is the bass note a D or F? That determines the inversion. These are the diatonic chords in minor key. There is no chord 3 and 7 in the grade 8 test. According to the types, major or minor, of the chords, narrow down the options. For instance, a minor chord leading to the perfect cadence is possibly chord 1 or chord 4. Think about the key chord, which will be chord 1. Is it the same chord? If not, it must be chord 4, which is D minor. Confirm the inversion by hearing the bass note, whether it's a D or F. The chords that form the cadence are mainly root position, except for 1C5 and 2B5. Follow this step-by-step instruction. First, figure out the cadence and possible chords combination as listed before. If you have any trouble, try to confirm if it is a major or minor chord first, then narrow down the options. And lastly, listen to the bass note to confirm the inversions. You will hear it twice when the examiner plays the cadence. Think about the possible chords combination by that time. At the third time, when the examiner plays chords, verify and confirm your answer. And next, Test 8B, Sight Singing. This is the instruction. Here is the two-part phrase. I would like you to sing the lower part while I play the upper part. Number on this page. First, I'll give you the key chord, your starting note, and the speed. Then you can have a few moments to look through and try it out loud. Here is the key chord, examiner will name and play, your starting note, name and play, and the speed. After about 15 seconds, here's the key chord again, and your starting note. Now I'll count you in 2 bars. The candidates should sing the notes as printed, ensure the pitch and rhythm in place. You can choose to read in treble clef or bass clef, and give a confident response. The melody will be a 2-part phrase with the upper part played by examiner. The range is within a range of an octave. The key can be a major or minor key up to 4 sharps or flats. The meter in 2, 3, or 4 time, including 6/8 time. It will begin from a note from the tonic triad. There will be no chromatic note involved. The accidentals will only appear in the minor key examples, the raised 6th or 7th. You can choose either treble clef or bass clef. Candidates will be given a copy of music and the test number chosen by examiner. There will be 15 seconds to glance through and try out silently or singing out loud. These 15 seconds will not be assessed. You can respond by singing, humming, or whistling. Ensure the pitch and rhythm is accurate. Follow the speed indicated by examiner. You're allowed to sing octave higher or lower to match your vocal range. The examiner might help by playing the melody notes to guide the pitch. You should keep going no matter what happens. The examiner will not wait or slow down to wait for your response. Here is a 2-part phrase. I'd like you to sing the lower part while I play the upper part, number 1 on this page. First, I'll give you the key chord, your starting note, and the speed. Then you can have a few moments to look through and try it out loud. Here is the key chord, A minor, and your starting note, A. And the speed, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here is the key chord again, and your starting note. Now I'll count you in 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here are some teaching hints for Test 8B. Encourage the student to sing in solfege or any syllable comfortable to them. Encourage the student to keep going no matter what happens. Do not wait or redo the wrong notes. Practice singing different intervals, scales pattern, and broken chords. Spot the awkward intervals, which is not moving by steps. In the minor key examples, look out for the raised 6 and 7 note. As for the answering tips, glance through the whole test to spot the awkward intervals. For the broken chord patterns, think about the chord notes. Remember the starting note and the pitch of the tonic triad note. Follow the rhythm accurately, as the examiner will not wait for your response. Utilize the 15 seconds preparation time to go through as much as possible. The examiner will not assess the preparation time. Moving on to the next test, 8C, Modulations. The instruction would be, now 2 modulations. Tell me where the music modulates to at the end of each passage. You will hear each of them only once. The first one begins in major, and this is the key chord. Where does it modulate to? The second one begins in minor, and this is the key chord. Where does it modulate to? The candidate should identify the type of modulations, whether it's to dominant, subdominant, or relative major or minor. Now, 2 modulations. Tell me where the music modulates to at the end of each passage. You will hear each of them only once. The first one begins in G major, and here is the key chord. Where does it modulate to? It modulates to relative minor. The second one begins in G minor, and this is the key chord. Where does it modulate to? It modulates to the subdominant. Here are the teaching hints for Test 8C. Show various examples of modulations to help the students differentiate. Use the exam pieces as example. Identify the type of modulations. Do more practices in minor key, as this is new in grade 8. Help the students differentiate the modulation to relative major and dominant major. And now the answering tips for the modulations in major key. Listen to the effect. If it's to dominant, it sounds more bright by adding a sharp. For example, from C major to G major. And to subdominant, it sounds lowered and mellowed by adding a flat. For example, C major to F major. And to relative minor, it sounds sad, creepy, a different mood from the previous key, such as C major to A minor. For modulations in minor key, this is new in grade 8. To dominant minor, it sounds more bright by adding one sharp. For example, A minor to E minor. To the dominant major, it also sounds more bright by the addition of many accidentals. For example, A minor to E major. If it's to subdominant, it sounds lowered or more mellow by adding a flat, like A minor to D minor. And to the relative major, it sounds bright but remain the same key signature, such as A minor to C major. These are the acceptable answers. You can answer in the technical name, dominant, subdominant, or the key name, such as it modulates to G major, F major, etc. And the last test is Test 8D, Musical Features. The instruction would be, listen to this piece, then describe the features that you notice. You might describe the texture, structure, character, or style and period, but mention any feature that you think is relevant. The candidates should describe the features in the music as much as possible and give a confident response. The difference from the previous grades would be there are no more specific questions asked by examiner. The candidates have to organize their thoughts and express it in a confident manner. There is also no more rhythmic repetition and meter tests. Listen to this piece, then describe the features that you notice. You might describe the texture, structure, character, or style and period, but mention any feature that you think is relevant. The music has a thin texture with a two-part texture throughout. They are often played in octaves and with a limited note range. It started out with the staccato articulation followed by the legato articulation. The use of dissonances and a lack of tonal centers suggests that this music is from the 20th century. It is possible that it's written by a composer like Philip Glass or Stravinsky. For teaching hints, firstly, give the students a few pointers to start, then encourage them to express their thoughts by themselves. It is always good to start with some prominent features like the texture, structure, and style and period. Name possible composers from the particular musical period. This is not mandatory but encouraged. For the answering tips, name the features that you notice. If you're unsure, don't mention it. Start with some simple features like dynamics, articulation, and tonality, and expand it to the character, style and period, texture, and structure. The examiner might prompt and help you, but it will affect the overall mark. Try to give as much details as possible. Remember certain keywords that will easily make your points. Practice in writing to organize your thoughts in full sentence. Then, change it to verbal response. Now, I'll show you some sample response. This response will be a pass. It's in the major key and the tempo is moderately fast. The tune is in the right hand and the texture is quite thin, so maybe classical? Then, a sample response for merit. It's in the major key and the texture is melody and accompaniment. The harmony is straightforward and there are balanced phrases. There are clear cadences and the character is light and elegant, so it is probably from the classical period. And lastly, a distinction response. It's in the major key and the tempo is moderately fast. It has a melody and accompaniment texture, which is quite transparent and mostly in two parts. The melody tends to have scalic runs and the harmony is straightforward, using a lot of primary chords. There are balanced phrases with clear-cut sections. The character is light and elegant, and the overall structure is ABA. I think the piece is from the classical period, probably by a composer such as Mozart or Haydn. Keep in mind that there is no standard answering scheme to obtain a certain score. The candidate's response should showcase deep musical understanding. Organize the thoughts in a full sentence, like the piece is in the major key instead of just saying major key. Speak calmly, confidently, and know the keywords well. And now some general info about the oral test. In the exam, the candidate will stand beside the piano where the piano keyboard cannot be seen. The candidate should face the examiner. There is no book or instrument needed during the test. For additional practice materials, ABRSM has published useful materials that can help candidates prepare for the oral test. For books such as Specimen Oral Test and Oral Training in Practice. The ABRSM also has an app called the ABRSM Oral Trainer. There is a paid and a free light version, and on our channel you'll find the sample oral test videos. All the links to the above materials can be found from the link in the description box. And this is the marking criteria for oral tests. Keep in mind that candidates' responding time and confidence level, if any second attempt was needed in any part of the test, will be taken in consideration in marking. I'm not comfortable with singing. What is the alternative? The pitch is more important than vocal quality. You can choose to sing or hum or whistle. For Test 8A, you can repeat the melody by playing on your instrument. For Test 8B, you can sing in any syllable, letter name, or solfege. Humming or whistling is also acceptable. The response has to be clear and confident. As for spoken response for non-native English speaker, only Test C and D requires spoken response. The candidate is permitted to bring an interpreter into the exam room. From my personal experience, the candidates do not need a perfect command of English for the spoken response part. The examiner will say the same instructions at the beginning of each test, just like in this video, and you can give simple answers and keywords confidently. There is definitive answer for all tests. However, only a qualified teacher can advise if you sing perfectly in pitch or memorize the correct melody. Besides giving a correct response, the candidate should also speak and sing clearly and confidently. So this video only provides a guidance and walkthrough, but training should be done with a qualified teacher in order to know if you're doing it correctly. Can the test be done on my instrument for non-pianists? No, the oral tests are only delivered using piano by examiner. You can utilize the practice materials by ABRSM to familiarize with the procedure, but teachers are strongly encouraged to adapt the test on candidates' respective instruments to give them a better understanding. Check out the link in the description for the PDF version of this video and all the links and documents mentioned. Like and drop us a comment if you've got questions or if you find this video helpful. Subscribe to our channel for more contents. All the information is correct by the date of publication. In the event of any discrepancies or inconsistency, ABRSM's information shall prevail. Thanks for watching. See you next time.